Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. In the studio, a frequent guest, a very, very cool community leader, and the biggest UT Longhorn fan this side of the wishbone offense. Darryl Royal and all that business. Nancy Sasaki, President and CEO of the United Way of San Diego County. How you doing, Nancy?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good.
Are you all ready for bowl season?
Bowl season, can't wait. Can't wait for some more football. Absolutely.
That sounds good. Joined by my co-host, Ian Solomon. He is a senior at San Diego State, majoring in leadership studies. Has done a great job co-hosting. Is on his third day of podcasting as a co-host with us, and we're thrilled to have him. I know, Ian, you got a question for Nancy out of the gate.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could tell me a little about the mission of your organization.
Absolutely. United Way has been around since 1920. When the Spanish flu was a pandemic. And at that point, we decided that what we wanted to be doing was to be responding to the needs of the community, to ensure that we're sparking breakthrough community action that can really build a community that's thriving and building the ability for people to really be able to thrive in San Diego and live in a vibrant community.
How long have you been in San Diego County?
I've been here since 1990. Left my beloved Longhorns.
Okay, very good. Understand. You still follow them. That's very good in this aspect. You know, with United Way, what an iconic group. Been around for a long, long time. The impact, the touch points are huge. But you're retiring.
Yes.
You're retiring.
Did you say finally retiring?
Well, no. Listen, but it was a long haul. You know, I mean, it's not easy to be the CEO of United Way, especially in a major metro. You know, it's tough stuff. I'll tell you that. You were doing it 7 years. Okay. Of doing this. Did you have an idea that I'm going to do it for about 7 years, I'm going to do it for 10 years, I'm going to do it for 3 years? Did you have an idea how long you'd be doing this when you started?
I had no idea when I started, but it's been interesting because back when I was in my 40s, there was a group of women leaders that I was working with, and they were looking at the older women who were in their 60s and 70s and were saying, you know what? We really love learning from them. We love hearing their experiences, but at some point they need to step aside and let us lead.
100%.
Right. So in my 50s, I kind of went like, so what is that for you, Nancy, as you get older, and just pulled a number out of the air. And I said 70. When I get 70, that's probably when I want to retire. No clue if that would really be what was happening. And when I started at United Way 7 years ago, I really felt like I knew this was the last place I wanted to work. But I didn't know how long that was going to be. And I certainly didn't anticipate the pandemic as a huge challenge for us to have during my 7-year tenure. So, yeah, it's just time.
So you said you've been with them for 7 years. I was wondering, what is your most proud accomplishment during your time there?
Besides doing Drew Schlosberg. That was your least part. Yeah,
being on this show multiple times has been, no. I think the proudest moment really for me was, as I just said, I lived through the pandemic with the United Way. And at that time, we were invited by 4 other organizations to come together, including the county supervisors, to come together and try to respond to the needs of the community. It had just happened. We were like 1 week into it, and we were like, okay, something needs to happen. We all need to step up. What are we going to do? And I was really proud that United Way could just flip the coin and decide that we were going to raise money to get money out into the community where their need was the greatest. And we were able to distribute over $2 million. What was the real challenge within all of that is that as more money kept coming into the community, we had to keep digging to find out who were the people that were still in need, who were the people that were still being left out. And that's when you find out international students aren't included in any of the government funding. That's when you find out that people who are disabled and living at home with their parents are not included in any of the funding. So we just had to keep digging deeper and find those people who were in need, people who are living in somebody's house and they just have a handshake. They can't come up with a lease to show you that they've got a rent agreement, right? So those were the challenges that we faced, and I was really proud that we were able to do that and distribute that money within about 6 or 7 months.
Have you seen, obviously you knew a lot about the United Way before you got the position, but, there's certain things that you probably go, okay, we do these types of things and, we do them well. Were there other things, and of course you mentioned about certainly during COVID, you had to shift in all that business, but there were other things go, boy, I didn't realize United Way got involved in this aspect and so deep. Were there any projects that jumped out at you like that?
Not really, but I think what does come to mind is that during all of this time, the 7 years, it's amazing the crises that have happened in our community, whether it's the fires or the floods that happened last January.
Right.
And being able to step up and find out how do we, within our mission, help those communities. So to be able to provide some after-school education programs for the kids who were living in hotels because their homes flooded and they have nowhere else to go, but were falling behind in school, to be able to bring those programs to them was really, really just something I was so proud of as well. But then we also have people who they lost their homes. Like, how do you start all over when you have nothing? But we're being able to help them with budgeting, with savings, with really trying to figure out, like, what are the next steps to put one foot in front of the other.
I've known you for a while, and I'm very honored to know you. And what we tease a lot, because we like to talk about our different football teams that we enjoy. However, you've always had this great compassion for the organization, not just United Way, the other ones you're helping, and what you just described, these folks that lost their homes in the flood, or if it's a fire and all that business. But I think it's something that is in your DNA, the Nancy Sasaki DNA. It's if you just reach out and let people know you care. As trite as that may seem, it works, does it not?
Absolutely, it works, because when people are in their time of need, they don't know what questions to ask. They don't know who to reach out to. But if you present yourself as somebody or an organization that's willing to be there, to listen, to find out what you do need, bring the resources to you or your community, and we work in partnership with many other organizations, but when we work together, we're able to solve some problems. Well,
it is amazing that, Ian, when you find this out later in life, or early in life, probably for you, because you're on top of your game with leadership studies at SDSU. When you row in the same direction, it is amazing how fast you get to where you want to go and get these things done. And some of these things are the most obvious statements. Well, of course that's true. Well, okay, good. And then you find 3 organizations that do that. Well, I guess we can't find as many in that area. We're chatting with Nancy Sasaki. She is the president and CEO of United Way, going to be retiring after a stellar 7-year career. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast in our 20th year, brought to you by the fine folks at Mission Fed Credit Union. 60 years of just doing great things in our community, whether it's food insecurity or financial literacy or it's the homeless, Alzheimer's. They are just there in so many different topics. Joined by my co-host, Ian Solomon. He is a senior at San Diego State in leadership studies. Are you allowed to announce has there been a replacement mentioned for you, and can you announce it? And if it's no, that's okay.
I can't announce it as publicly as I would like to, but we have selected my replacement. She will be starting on January the 5th.
Right.
And that's when United Way will do the biggest splash about who she is, what she brings to the organization, what she brings to the community. And I'm excited about it. So, I'm really proud of the work that's being done.
And I'll say this, I'm not going to mention the name, of course, but I'll let the public know this is a great choice. And I think Nancy would agree as well. And then when it's announced on the 5th of January, we're going to bring her into the studio. She's been a frequent guest on our shows on talking about what she used to do. So I think that's going to be just a wonderful aspect of it. So Nancy, one of the things you had talked about, and you opened opened up, that you were working with some folks, and they're women done great works, maybe in their 50s, 60s and all that business. Now it's time for the new generation to take over. We talk about this all the time, and, I've been honored to sit on a variety of nonprofit boards, Classroom of the Future Foundation and Junior Achievement and Council on Literacy. And people say, wow, you guys just want to stay in power. I go, no, we want young folks like Ian or Brandon and Joe, our senior associate producer of the Cloudcast Media. We want you to take over the reins in these community-oriented things. Talk about that is so true. And it's not that we want to be in this power position.
It is absolutely so true. And I think what's really interesting and what's real for me is that what I see is that the younger people come in with a different kind of energy, with a different perspective, and all organizations need that. You can get into your tried and true and your routine and everything like that, but everything's changing out there. We are all looking at it, how much the community, how much the environment has changed, and you need people who are able to look at that and make those adaptations and to bring new insights into how to respond. And the community you're working with is a different community. So being able to understand when is the time for you to step aside? When is it the time for you to let new leadership take over and do more things in the organization? I'm very proud of the fact that I'm leaving United Way with a great foundation on which that the new leader can bring and new ideas and grow and expand. And I'm excited to be able to sit back and watch that happen.
No, that's true. Ian, so with your leadership studies, you'll be graduating in May next. Is that right?
That's correct.
How much do you folks focus on community giving in your studies? And how much do you like doing it yourself, whether you're learning it in the studies or not?
So it's actually a huge part of the leadership major, because one of the classes that we're actually required to take is, I think I've mentioned this before, where we're assigned a foster student and we have to tutor them throughout the course of the entire semester. And paired with that experience of tutoring that foster child, there's also learning about it and having the conversation and reflecting about it in the classroom as well. So you're kind of getting the experience paired with the reflection and what you're learning from it. And it's just for me, it's been such an incredible experience.
I think something that's really important in what you just said is that you're also learning the skill of listening to somebody else and finding out what their needs are and what their life looks like, because it's going to be very different than yours. The perspective is going to be very different. And if you take that information and incorporate it to what you know, what you're learning, you're going to be so much better off when you're working in the community.
Definitely. It's the listening skills. It's
Absolutely.
the having empathy. I think that's really the main thing that they've been trying to teach us is like having that empathy for other people.
And I think y'all have it. It's just learning how to use it.
Exactly.
It's funny. I think my senior producer is going to faint on this because he has heard so many of the interviews over here. And I know when you mention the word listening, it's my favorite topic to talk about. When I was teaching at San Diego State, the first lecture I did in the journalism class was listening. And we say it all the time on this show. We are good at hearing. We are horrible at listening. And those are two different things. And I'm so glad you brought that up. And no, I did not pay Nancy to say that on air. She did.
But I'll send you the bill.
Yeah, that's right. You send the bill, and I'll send it over to Brandon to pay. But I think what's great about that, and it's so true, there is a skill to listening and knowing how to do that. And leaders, what you're learning at San Diego State, Ian, are great listeners. And the ones who are phenomenal are going, how did, 2 weeks down the road, there'll be a reaction to something. You actually heard what I was saying? Oh, I was listening. Oh, I didn't know you heard what I was saying. That next thing is done that way. When we come back from break, I want to, talk to you a little bit about, what are some of the challenges that are going to be facing United Way moving forward, and of course, what our listeners can do to, help support that and, grease the skids for the new CEO that's coming in on January 5th when we return with Nancy Sasaki, retiring president and CEO of United Way of San Diego County. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, joined by my co-host Ian Solomon, a senior at San Diego State, majoring in leadership studies, and we will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest-running community podcast, brought to you by the fine folks at Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things in the community. Always a pleasure to have my longtime friend and colleague back in the studio, Nancy Sasaki. She is the retiring president and CEO of the United Way of San Diego County, joined by my co-host Ian Solomon, senior at San Diego State in Leadership Studies. Before I turn it over to Ian for a question for you, Nancy, how many times have you been on the show? Seriously, you've been 7 years, 10, 15, 20. I mean,
we're probably between 10 and 15 times, I bet. I don't know.
Yeah, because
I just keep coming back.
Because when you hit 100, you get a special, ribbon from us. Okay.
Oh, I do.
Exactly right.
You have your punch card as well, right?
You get a punch card, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. No, in all seriousness, we love to have organizations, as Ian knows now, making repeat contributions, communications. You can't just say it once. Nancy knows us better than other. You got to say it 400 times and repeat it. And maybe for the person who's heard it 400 times, it gets old, but there's somebody who's only heard it for the first time, and you got to continue to do that. Ian, question you have for Nancy?
Yeah, I was wondering, what are some of the biggest challenges that United Way is facing in the future?
Yeah, that's a great one, because I think right now, as I've mentioned already, that there's so many things that are different in our environment that we weren't anticipating. And I think one of the biggest ones for most all nonprofits, as well as United Way, is the challenge of fundraising and bringing in diverse revenues to our organization. What I'm seeing happen with a lot of the philanthropists is that they're focusing on one area. Like, they want to get food to people, they want to get housing to people, they want to help with mental health. And I'm not saying that's bad, but if you're not in those fields, it makes it very hard and difficult to find new sources of revenue when some of your sources that were funding you are now focusing in a different area. So I think that's one of the challenges, is finding how do you diversify your revenue when the revenue is diversifying itself. So I think that's one of them. The other one is one that I lament, and one of the programs that we run is one that helps early learners learn how to read by the end of 3rd grade. It's a critical milestone to be able to read by that point in time in your life, because if you don't reach that milestone, then you are more likely not to graduate from high school. You're behind in your learning. You probably have mental health issues because you're embarrassed that you can't read. I mean, how many people do you know that didn't want to get called on to read anything in class, right? So that's really a critical milestone. But you wait 10 years before you see the result of your work. And most people who are giving money to those kinds of efforts don't want to wait 10 years to find out whether or not it worked. But if we don't do that time, spend that time helping our kids learn how to read by the end of 3rd grade, we will still be looking for ways that seniors in high school can find a career pathway. We're doing that work as well, but we could solve some of that problem by helping them read by the end of 3rd grade.
Yeah, and it's something near and dear to my heart and Nancy's as well. Being involved with the San Diego Council on Literacy literally since its inception in 1986. Nancy and I were just at a literacy event last week, and you hit something that is really important and really true, especially when you work with the Council on Literacy, Ian, or any group. Doesn't have to be the Council on Literacy, and their focus, of course, is to find those folks that are not doing too well reading, and it's a big number in San Diego County, as it is in all major metros in this area. And if we don't know you need help to read, we can't help you. And so it takes a lot of courage to admit that you are 35 years old and you can't read more than a third grade book in this area. And probably much what it is in any other area where there's something you don't want to admit. And it's not easy. We get that. And I think, one thing that Nancy does in the United Way is it's okay. You can chat with us about it. If you're not ready to chat with us about it, that's cool. We'll get you later. Talk about that.
Yeah, you definitely want to just keep putting those opportunities in front of people. That they might not know what they need. They might be too scared. They might not think they have the time. They might think it's too hard of a challenge. But if you keep coming back to them, that's what's going to help them to say they're more interested in me doing this than I seem to be. So what's the deal? And then they'll start to open up and to maybe try the first step and to see how it goes. But that's the only thing you can do is just keep putting the opportunities out in front of people so that they can see that there's help out there and that there is a way to overcome what their challenges are. So
you're making it easy for them. It's like when they do realize that they want that help, they don't have to think, okay, now where do I have to go get it? Who do I have to talk to? It's like when they get to that point, they already know where to go to.
Absolutely, because so many times their lives are so busy. Mm-hmm. To put that as the priority, whatever that challenge might be, is kind of I don't have time for it. Mm-hmm. I'd love to, but I just don't have time. Yeah. But if you're continually out there in front of them and saying, here's what you could do, here's what we offer, here's a way that you could get involved. Oh, here's a little program you could come to just to see what's going on. Just keep doing that and people will eventually, when the time is right for them, maybe take that first step.
And as Nancy was talking about on some of these life-changing events, whether it's the floods that we had, a year ago in January, if I'm not mistaken, or of course the devastating fires that we've experienced. Imagine, Ian, and again, both Nancy and I are very passionate about the San Diego Council on Literacy and those folks who are functionally illiterate. That's a big number. Imagine if you can't read. And one of the things, working with our good friend Jose Cruz, the CEO of the Council on Literacy, we used to tell people when we give talks is, close your eyes. When you open your eyes, you can't read. You always do that, of course, when, you open your eyes, now you can't see. You open your eyes, you can't hear. But try it, you can't read. And it gets people going, I can't imagine that I can't read, for God's sake. It's something. So, Nancy, thank you for being a good friend and colleague for all these years. Congratulations on your 7 years as the CEO of United Way in San Diego County. And promise you won't be a stranger. I know you're going to be involved with probably 7 billion nonprofits down the road, but you'll come back in every once in a while and share the mic with me, maybe even co-host. What do you think?
Hey, there you go. That would be fun. But after 44 years in the nonprofit sector, I'm kind of ready to take a step back and just let myself decompress. And that's what I hope I do in the first couple of months.
All right. And I guarantee you, Ian, if you don't see her in the nonprofit sector, you'll see her on the sidelines of a UT, a Texas Longhorn game.
Hook 'em.
Very
you and Matthew McConaughey.
That's right, yeah. And Glenn Powell now. Yeah.
Well, listen, Nancy, again, congratulations on a great career. And we'll look forward to seeing where this takes you moving forward.
Thank you so much.
You bet. I'm Drew Schlosberg at Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlossberg's Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast in our 20th year. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades of doing great things in San Diego County. Ian Solomon, thank you once again for being such a wonderful co-host. And to our listeners, we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlossberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.